Welcome back to the Life Well Led podcast. Eric, I feel like it's been a little while since we actually sat down and recorded one of these, and it feels good to be back.
It certainly does. Sometimes we do it in advance, but never this long. So this was really nice to actually get back into it.
Yeah.
Um,
And to kind of go out into the world and have conversations with people, because the reason why we started this is because Eric and I have a lot of conversations together, and
mhm.
we talk about things, and they're fascinating, what we think is fascinating. So we try to share it with all of you.
Yeah.
But we actually went out into the world and had different conversations with people, and coming back with so many new and fresh ideas of content to really talk about and dive into. And one of them came from a dinner we were having with folks. We were sitting around a table and we were having the most fascinating dinner conversation I think I have ever been part of.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
It was pretty good. And one of the guys, brilliant man, sitting at the table, dropped this quote. The most powerful force on earth is compound interest.
Wait a minute. This is not a finance podcast. What are you talking about?
You would think that we were having a finance conversation, and we were far from having a finance conversation
Yeah, it
at
wasn't.
all. So, Eric, when you hear the most powerful force on earth is compound interest, what comes to mind for you?
I joke about finance because that's initially where it goes, right? Is about wealth creation and being able to have, sustainable wealth practices. But really, it's about progress over perfection. Progress over perfection. What that means to me is you are investing small increments of time, not small increments of time, you're getting small increments of improvement over time in the investment in yourself, whether it be professionally, personally, on the side, socially, whatever it might be. That is what compound interest looks like, is progress over perfection. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think our whole society is built on this idea of perfectionism. And whether it's fear of looking foolish, fear of failure, fear of judgment of others, whatever it is that holds us back, we want to show up and be perfect. And the truth is, you're just not perfect without practice. And so that is this idea of compound interest, of investing in yourself, in the skills that you want to learn or the things that you want to do over time, making yourself better. So, Eric, are you familiar with the 100-hour rule?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So, the 100-hour rule states that if you spend 100 hours a year, which equates to about 18 minutes a day
Mm-hmm.
in anything, any discipline, you will be better than 95% of the world in that discipline. Which, okay,
Wow.
let's kind of crazy, right?
Right.
18 minutes. I feel like you could do anything for 18 minutes a day. So let's just kind of break that down. Let's say you're learning piano
Yeah. Okay.
and you practice 18 minutes a day for an entire year. You're probably not going to be in the top 5% of piano players in the world by the end of that year, practicing 18 minutes a day.
No, probably not. But
But you are going to be in the top people who can actually, if you take all the world population of all the people, you can actually play the piano. You will actually be able to play the piano likely at the end of that year.
yeah,
You could be in the top 5% of anything you do with 18 minutes of investment a day.
this is all reference to James Clear's Atomic Habits in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form, right? But I actually want to quote the book, and I don't recall the chapter, but he talks about an example of progress over perfection. To your point, there was a photography class where the professor split half of the class. One half did a project where the photograph had to be perfect and they were waiting for the perfect photograph. The other half was allowed to take multiple photographs and then pick the best one. Well, guess which group actually did better?
Of course, it was the one who took as many photos and just kept getting better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You had to actually try. And I think to your point before that, all this was people are afraid to try because they're looking for progress and they're afraid of failure. So rather than not be able to get up and start at the starting line. Having the ability to start, fall down a few times, and keep going is the fact of compound interest. That is what builds that success, even if it's just that 1% every single day. And you may not be in the top 5% of the world, but you're better than a vast majority of the population because they didn't put in the effort and dedication, right? So to me, that means all of those sports quotes and performance quotes where they say, effort is better than talent and skill and all that. I believe that's actually true to some extent or a great extent, because it actually propels you forward in a lot of ways. And that dedication every single day, when you're sick and you don't feel well, you still do it anyways. You put in that 18 minutes. That, I think, is the principle that shows discipline and commitment as part of that growing compound interest to be better.
I mean, what comes to mind for me is this podcast. We had talked about it. We have these conversations.
All the
You
time.
know, we decided we were going to put a microphone in front of us and record them, and hopefully people find value. But my goal is just to get 1% better each time. And hopefully we're doing that. Hopefully we're learning more about the audience and you all are finding value. We're listening to your feedback and trying to tailor content to the people who are listening. And we so appreciate you and we appreciate
Absolutely.
the opportunity to do this. But would I have ever thought that I would have my own podcast? Absolutely not,
No,
right?
same boat here. And it's part of it is getting better each day and enjoying the process and doing it. And part of that is having the mindset of, okay, what works, great. What doesn't work, what can we do better the next time without having to fear a failure and putting out a product that we don't like. Yeah, we can re-record, but I think it's helpful to know that even if it's not the perfect product, it's something to learn from and grow from there.
We certainly do restart and re-record a couple times, usually on every take, because there is this part of us that wants us not necessarily to be perfect, but for it to be good, for it to be something that people want to listen to. So, I mean, we're guilty of it too. But Eric, you mentioned something so interesting, and I want to go
What's
back
that?
to it. You mentioned when you were talking about progress, being in the moment and enjoying where you are. And
Yeah.
that is such a mindset. That little
Hmm.
bit is such a mindset that most people just don't, right? We want it to be perfect. We're focused on getting to the end result, whatever it is. I want 100 active listeners. I want 1,000 active listeners on our podcast, right? That's the goal. You forget all along the way to enjoy the journey.
Yes.
You're getting 1% better, but to actually be in the moment and enjoy the journey is hard.
It's
It's
very
hard. And
hard.
it's a mindset and you can totally control that.
Yeah, it's discipline is part of it, but having fun along the way is certainly optional. And you have that choice to do it. What is it going to take for you to actually have fun in the process? A great example of that, just as a personal example, is golf for me. I used to have an expectation of how I was going to show up each and every day. I was expecting to be better each day. But that wasn't always the case. If you're a golfer, you're going to have bad days on the course. You're going to have bad days on the range. You're going to have bad days on the putting green. So it wasn't, to me, it was a shorter term vision. I get really frustrated and then not want to do it and then kind of quit and go back to it. But it was never enjoyable for me. So I always had these things like, oh no, if I'm regressing in some way, shape, or form, it means that I've lost it. I've completely lost my ability to golf. I think every golfer in some way, shape, or form has that. What if I just lose it one day? Age, or you just suddenly break down your swing. Yeah, that sucks. But having a greater vision of, all right, and part of that is just losing some of those expectations, knowing that you're getting better. As long as you believe in yourself, that you're putting the effort in each day, progress is not necessarily linearly going forward. Sometimes you dip, but that 1% is growing over time, not just in that short vacuum of that short period that you have. So to me, enjoyability was not having such unrealistic expectations, setting the right expectations, and then having fun along the process. And then I've started to notice progression was much better than I actually thought of it before.
Progress is not linear. Progress is the opposite of linear. It should look like you are all over the map, up and down, highs and lows. It is,
It's almost like a maze.
yeah, it's messy
It is messy. It
and it's
definitely is
hard.
messy.
And finding joy throughout that process of progress And knowing and trusting that you are getting better, whether you believe it or not, whether you have a good day or a bad day, you're still getting better. That's hard, but it's possible.
I think we can actually offer a tool here that
Okay.
will guarantee progress in some way, shape, or form. And I want to first, before we get to that, congratulate you. You are now a certified professional coach.
Thank you.
So, through the program that we both went through, we actually learned a tool called the ABC goals. You remember that one?
I do. Yes.
I think that would be a really helpful thing for our audience.
Yeah, I agree. Well, how about you explain ABC goals?
Absolutely. So, ABC goals is talking about a 3 goal system that gives you the ability to aim for an ideal goal. Let's say it's go in front of the board of directors and sell them on your proposal. Great. That is part of your performance and what you do, and part of their reaction to it being the reaction you want. Well, if they don't do what you want, hope for them to do, then go to your B goal. That B goal is a backup goal. That backup goal is now, instead of getting the results you're looking for externally, what can you internally control? Did you speak clearly? Did you speak confidently? Did you speak fluently? That would be a really good B goal to say, well, at least I did this. Well, if you stuttered, or your technology didn't work, or something just went wrong that was within your control, then you go to your C goal, your safety net goal. And that is, what can I learn from this process to improve next time? That guarantees that you can be 1% better every single day, because you're at least learning from the situation. It may seem like you're dipping, but it's really not. It's just you flatlined maybe, but you can still 1% climb and learn from something that might have been perceived as a fall. So that ABC goal process is really helpful to see long term how you grow and get better. And
So so walk through it one more time. A is the ideal.
A is the ideal, meaning it's within your control, and what else people react to it is what you're getting.
Okay.
So external and internal.
And then B.
B is if external doesn't work, what's within your internal control, right? What is within your control that you were able to do well?
Okay. And then your C.
C is if that doesn't go well, what can you learn from the process to be better next time?
I love, love, love that. I think it's so reflective because, like Eric said, even if you only have your C goal to go off of, you are being introspective, you
Mm-hmm.
are learning, and that is sometimes knowing what doesn't work is more valuable than knowing what does work.
Yeah,
Right? Building
exactly.
off of that knowledge. And that goes back to trying new things and being willing to put up trial balloons and see what works and what doesn't work. And this fear of failure, that's a big one.
I
But
mean, that's the biggest challenge in and of itself. But if you're able to change your mindset from failure is data to learn from, then you realize that it's just like being back in school. Yeah, you might fail, but you're able to go back and do it again. Life is not you do it once, and if you fail, you're done. You have the ability to get back up and do it again. An extreme example, sure, but life is not always that extreme. So give yourself the credit that when something does not go well, rather than stay, and yeah, you're going to be disappointed. No question. You have every right to be disappointed. But rather than stay in that, flip the script. What is it that you can learn from this situation to be better next time?
mhm.
Be introspective, be a little analytical about it, and that can get you the progress that you're ultimately making. Even if it's not the progress you were hoping for, it's still progress. That is the goal. Progress over perfection.
And that compounds over time, and you just get better and better and better. And sometimes you look back and you're like, I can't believe that was me. I can't believe I started there. I can't believe I've reached my goals. But it starts one day at a time. It starts 1% better. There's going to be ups and downs. Aim for progress, not perfection.